Most people today might know what the three branches of government are, but some might not know exactly what they do. So today I'm going to be talking to you about what each of these branches of government do. The legislative branch is the United States Congress of the federal government. It is bicameral, comprising the House of Representatives and the Senate. One thing that the legislative branch has is the powers of Congress. And the Constitution grants numerous powers to Congress. These include the powers to levy, collect taxes, to coin money and regulate its value, issue patents, declare war, raise and support armies, provide and maintain a navy, and to make laws necessary to properly execute powers. Over the two centuries since the United States was formed, many disputes have arisen over the limits and the powers of the federal government. These disputes have often been the subject of lawsuits that have ultimately been decided by the United States Supreme Court. One of the other key factors in the legislative branch is the House of Representatives, and this includes 435 voting members, each of whom represent a congressional district. The number of representatives each state has in the House is based on each state's population as determined in the most recent census of the United States. All 435 representatives serve a 2-year term. Each state receives a minimum of one representative in the House. In order to be elected as a representative, an individual must be at least 25 years of age and a U.S. citizen for at least 7 years, and must live in the state that he or she represents. There is no limit on the number of terms a representative may serve as well. Another part in the legislative branch is the Senate. In contrast, the Senate is made up of 2 senators from each state, regardless of population. There are currently 100 senators, 2 from each of the 50 states, who each serve 6-year terms. Approximately 1/3 of the Senate stands for election every 2 years. The second branch of the government is the executive branch, and the executive power of the federal government is vested in the President of the United States. Although power is often delegated to the cabinet members and other officials, the President and the Vice President are elected as running mates by the Electoral College, for which each state, as well as the District of Columbia, is allocated a number of seats based on the representation in both houses of Congress. The President is limited to a maximum of 4-year terms. If the President has already served 2 years or more of a term to which some other person was elected, he may only serve one more additional 4-year term. And just like I said, in the executive branch, the executive branch consists of the President and those to whom the President's powers are delegated. The President is both the head of the state and government, as well as the military commander-in-chief and chief diplomat. The President, according to the Constitution, must take care that the laws be faithfully executed. Presides over the executive branch of the federal government, an organization numbering about 5 million people, including 1 million active duty military personnel and 600,000 postal service employees. The 44th and current president is Barack Obama. The president may sign legislation passed by Congress into law or may veto it, preventing it from becoming law unless 2/3 of both House of Congress to vote to veto the bill. Also in the executive branch is the Vice President, and he is the second highest executive official in the rank of government. As first in the U.S. presidential line of succession, the Vice President becomes President upon the death, resignation, or removal of the President, which has happened 9 times in U.S. history. Under the Constitution, the Vice President is President of the Senate. By virtue of this role, he or she is the head of the Senate. In that capacity, the Vice President is allowed to be voted in the Senate, but only when necessary to break a tie vote. Pursuant of the 12th Amendment, the Vice President presides over the joint session of Congress when it continues to count vote of the Electoral College. While the Vice President's only constitutionally prescribed functions, aside from the presidential succession, relate to his or her role as President of the Senate. The office is now commonly viewed as a member of the executive branch of the federal government. The U.S. Constitution does not expressly assign the office to any one branch, causing scholars to dispute whether it belongs to the executive branch, the legislative branch, or both. The third branch of government that is mentioned most is the judicial branch, and through the Judiciary Act of 1789 subdivided the nation jurisdictionally into judicial districts and created federal courts for each district. The three-tiered structure of the Act established the basic structure of the national judiciary. The Supreme Court, 13 courts of appeals, 94 district courts, and 2 courts of special jurisdiction. Congress retains the power to reorganize or even abolish federal courts lower than the Supreme Court.